First of all, we're going to study psychological research method. What is research method? Research is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. In research, when we want to conduct a research, we follow a proper method, and when we follow that method in order to find the answers of our question, we can say that we have conducted research. Now, what is that method? The method is, you can see that on the screen. First of all, we have to do observation. By observation, we can find the problem around us. For example, I am observing my surroundings, and by observing my surroundings, I found out that there are a lot of malaria patients around me. Now that's the problem. I have to find that what is the cause of malaria. Now I will propose hypothesis. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a tentative idea. It can either be true, it can either be false. In the both the cases, we have to prove that. So hypothesis could be that malaria cases are rising because people are drinking dirty water, or malaria cases are rising because the mosquitoes are increasing in the area and they are biting the people and then they're getting malaria. So anything can be a hypothesis. Okay, now we have to conduct research, we have to conduct different experiments in order to know that either this hypothesis is true or no. Okay, through those researches, through those experiments, we will find our answer, that either this hypothesis was true or false. And whatever the answer will be, we will publish our results. And when we'll publish, the benefits of publishing results is that all the other scientists who will study that research, they will also came to know that okay, this research has been conducted and this is the answer. And those scientists can also challenge our findings. They can do their own research on the same topic and they can say, no, we have found another answer. And then there can be a challenge between them. Well, that's a story for another day. But publishing results is a very important step because it helps other scientists to know that okay, this research has been conducted. And then at the last, we have to build a theory. If that research is good, like if that research is true, or we find the good results, then we can build a theory upon that. Now, what are the characteristics of good research? Okay, first characteristic of a good research is it must be empirical. By empirical, it is meant that it must be based on observations, and those observations must be tested. They can must be experimented. It should not be based on some vague idea or a belief of a group of a society. No, it should be based on the facts, and those facts can be experimented. It must be logical. There should be a rationality behind that. There should be valid reasons for that. For example, I have conducted a research on malaria, just I said before, and I can't give some uh, like illogical reasoning behind that, that due to like people are doing like their sleeping manner is wrong, so that's why they are getting malaria. No, that's not a logical reasoning behind that. I have to give valid reasons that are experimented. Then it must be cyclical. As I said, we can see that in research method that where theory building will again lead to observation through the arrows. Similarly, every good research must be cyclical. After finding the answer of the research, we again have a question. For example, I found out that why malaria is increasing in my area. Now the next question is rise, that how can I cope with that malaria, or what can be the treatment of malaria. So a good research is always cyclical. We can always do reanalyzing, retesting, re-experimenting. All the things can be done in a cycle. Then it must be analytical. By analytical, we can say that it must involve critical thinking skills and evaluations of facts and information. We should be able to evaluate that either the facts and information are right or wrong. It must includes all the previous data, all the findings that have done before, and this should all be tested. Then it must be critical. By critical, I mean that the research should be performed with carefulness. Each and every step of the research should be justifiable. It should be done by having a critical approach, and every uh, step of the research have some valid reasoning. Then it must be methodical. That means that it must follow this research method. Another is good characteristics of good research, that it is replicability. For example, that it should be applied to each and everything. For example, if we study that again, if we studied about malaria patients or a malaria disease of malaria, I have done this research on my area, and I said that these are the causes of malaria. If any other researcher will conduct the same research on his area or her area, the findings should be the same. It must be replicable, and it must be the findings, no matter who is doing the research or where it has been conducted, it should be same. Now, the qualities of a good researcher. He must be research oriented. He must be able to do observations and finding unique and new problems in order to conduct a good research on that. And then he must be efficient. He should know how to have a proper use of time, effort, resources for an intended person. He should not like waste his resources on any big thing. Then it must be scientific. He should use a proper scientific method for his research. Then it must be effective. He should evaluate data from every angle. All the findings that have been done before must be conducted, must be think about, and must be evaluated. All the data should have been evaluated or judged or have been uh, experimented. Then he should be active. He should not be like a lazy person, and because uh, we all know that the time is running very fast. Every day we have new problems, so he should be active in doing the researches. He should not have procrastination. He should be resourceful. He should have the ability to find and use available resources to solve problems and achieve goals. He must be creative. He must be creative in finding new issues, in finding the solutions of those issues, in creating hypotheses. And he must be honest. That's a very important characteristics, because many like it could be happen that in order to find the in order to have the desired result, they can alter the data however they want, and that is not in honesty. So it should be honest that whatever the data you have got, or whatever the answer you got, even though you don't wanted that answer, it was opposed to your thinking, you should have published that correctly. It must be economical. You should have been able, or a good researcher should have been able to do his research in economical way. He should use his research in the resources, in the money he have, because of course researches require money. Good researchers always need a lot of money funds. So he must be able to conduct a good research in the income he have, or in the funds he have. And then he must be reliable. He should not have any prejudice or bias study. For example, he have this belief in his mind about some caste or some race, and he'll do his research upon them, and he'll want that it must be a very the findings should be bad about them. So he'll do anything in his control to alter the results. That should not be happen. That is not honesty, and that won't be reliability. Which a good researcher must always be reliable. Everyone should be able to rely on him, that his researches um, must be true. Then we have to study about psychological research method. First of all, what is psychological research methods? Psychological research method Psychological research methods refers to the techniques and procedures that psychologists use to collect and analyze data in order to understand behavior, mental processes, and their underlying mechanisms. These methods are designed to be systematic, objective, and controlled in order to provide valid and reliable findings that can be used to advance our understanding of human psychology. Now these techniques and procedures are there are a few techniques and procedure, and inshallah we'll study them side by side. But today we're gonna study qualitative, quantitative, and mixed psychological research method. Quantitative and qualitative research method. So what is quantitative methods? Like quantitative method involves the use of numerical data and statistical analysis to test hypotheses. Like the name itself suggests, like quantitative, it derives from quantity. So we have to deal with numerical data and all the statistical analysis like mean, median, mode in order to test hypotheses. And qualitative methods involve the collection of non-numerical data such as observations, interviews, and case studies to gain a deeper understanding of human experience and behavior. Qualitative research method focus on words, concepts, descriptions, and ideas. Like we said before, that we use interviews, then different surveys to find out qualitative research method. So or mainly we deal with words, concepts, and descriptions and ideas. Okay, studies topics with a small body of knowledge. In qualitative research method, we do not have a very large sample, we have a small sample, and then we gather facts through interviews, questionnaires, and existing literature. Again, the same thing that I've said before. Small groups and limited settings, that is focus group. As I said before, that our sample is not very big. We have a very small sample. Then describe themes that emerge from responses. So whatever our research would be, that would be derived from the responses that these samples would give us. The questions we'll ask them or the interviews we'll take from them, our research will be based on their responses. Then data are non-numerical. It is expressed in language, images. That is, the data is analyzed, recorded, and transcribed, and then responses are sorted in themes. Data is not still numerical, but it gives us good idea about what phenomena at hand looks like and give us richer details in comparison to quantitative method. Well, qualitative research focuses on exploring complex human experiences and behaviors in depth with an emphasis on understanding the meanings and interpretations that individuals ascribe to the experience. This method typically involves collecting data through open ended interviews, focus groups, observations, or document analysis, and analyzing it through processes such as thematic analysis or group theory. Qualitative research is often used to gain insight into areas such as mental health, social relationships, and cultural norms. So now we have to study about the qualities and benefits and limitations of the qualitative research. Qualitative research is typically conducted in naturalistic settings such as in the field or in a clinical setting. The data collected is often in the forms of words or narratives, and the focus is on understanding the unique experiences and perspective of participants. Qualitative research often involves the use of open ended questions which allow participants to express themselves in their own words. The research may also use techniques such as observations, field notes, or interviews to collect data. Now, you see, I'm emphasizing again and again that in qualitative research we get the data through open-ended questions and then through observations, through notes, through interviews, and all that stuff. And the primary advantage of qualitative research is that it allows for a rich detailed understanding of complex phenomena. It can also be used to explore new or emerging topics that have not yet been extensively studied. As you see that we like we try to understand the unique experiences and perspectives of participant, and every participant have a very unique experience. So when we talk or take interview of each and every participant, we can always find a very unique emerging topic that have not been extensively studied before. However, qualitative research is often criticized for its lack of generalizability, as it is difficult to apply findings to a larger population because we have a very small sample in it. So we are not sure that whatever we are finding uh, in our research, that should be applied to all the like population of that area, or whatever our main goal is, or our main targeted sample is, population is. So the benefits is that it can be used to study several phenomena at the same times because we're dealing with each and every unique perspective of unique participant, and it can be done on an ongoing process. Like some studies are conducted for years using qualitative methods, because with the years, as the years goes on and on, the perspectives and experiences and the thinking of the participants changes with time, and it is not limited by numerical sources of data. Its limitations is that it does not provide statistical information, which may be essential in some cases. A lot of unusable data may be collected. For example, when we talk about like for example, we talk about if we ask a participant that what are your thoughts about accidents, road accidents, why does they happen? So maybe he does not give his thought, he start telling his story. Oh, yesterday I was going on that area and I just met an accident and it happened like that, all that of things. So it's possible that we do not get usable data. There is a lot of unusable data when we get data through participants, and it is a time consuming process for projects that may have deadlines. As I said before, that we have to deal with each and every participant. We have to take their interviews, or we have to observe them, we have to take notes on them, or we have to make them solve questionnaires, and we have open-ended questions. So that is very time consuming, but we have to study each and every participants in depth. Quantitative research focuses on gathering numerical data that can be analyzed using statistical methods. This method typically involves collecting data through structured surveys, experiments, or other standardized measures and analyzing it using statistical software. Quantitative research is often used to test hypotheses or make generalizations about large groups of people, such as the prevalence of a particular disorder or the effectiveness of a specific intervention. So, as I said, that it focuses on specific behaviors that can easily be quantified, and it has assigned numerical values to responses and measures. Like we use statistical methods, and in quantitative research method we have a large samples, and which we deal with by using statistical analysis. And for example, if we want to study personality traits, then we'll use personality trait questionnaires and etc. Then we in quantitative research methods we measure quantifiable units, analyze with graphs and other data visualization techniques, and we studies assumptions using measurable units. Unlike qualitative research, which studies non numerical concepts and ideas. In quantitative research method, we usually test theories and constructs them, and we want generalizing findings, like whatever our findings are, that can be applicable to the whole population, and then we are able to explain or determine the cause of behavior. Like we can find, as I said before, that we study some disorders, their causes and effects on behavior. But in qualitative research method, we often study about uh, emotions, beliefs, attitudes, etc. So now there's benefits and limitations. So quantitative research is typically conducted in a controlled laboratory settings or through surveys or questionnaires. The data collected is often in the form of numerical values or ratings, and the focus is on testing hypotheses or making generalizations about a population. Quantitative research often involves the use of closed-ended questions, which limit the range of possible responses and make it easier to compare responses across participants. As I said, that we use numerical data, okay, numerical values we use, and often the questionnaires we use in quantitative research methods, we have to either answer it in yes or no, or there are five blocks which are labeled as we agree, strongly agree, agree, disagree, neutral, or strongly disagree. Like these are the limitations, and we have to tick one of them, and then we have to find it through numerical or statistical way. So our responses are very few. Like we don't, like in qualitative research, uh, every participant have their own uh, perspective or their own story to tell. But in quantitative research, there are very few possibilities in which a participant can respond. So we have a very few responses, like the range of responses is less. Of the primary advantage of quantitative research is its ability to produce statistically significant results that can be used to make generalization about a population, and it can also be used to test hypotheses in a controlled setting, which allow for more rigorous testing of theories. However, quantitative research is often criticized for its lack of depth and nuance, as it can overlook important qualitative aspects of phenomena. Now, what happens that its benefits are that it is suitable for undertaking extensive surveys, and then it offers in-depth conclusions and findings, because it always we can have visual explanation through graphs and all that stuff, and we also have statistical responses. So in that manner we can have in-depth conclusions and findings, and we can collect information faster with quantitative research, because in qualitative we have to take interview from each and every participant, but in quantitative research just have to we have a close structure survey or questionnaire, which we distribute among the participants and we let them solve them. Then it is a scientific based approach that follows generally accepted standards. Okay, so its limitations are that there are limited conclusions from the study. As I said, that the range of responses are very less, and it often requires complex formulas and models. Again, we have to represent them in graphs, we have to represent them in statistical methods. So this is a complicated manner. The findings may become obsolete with time if we look upon the if we look backwards like 50 or a century before. So the issues there or the diseases of that time are different from the issues and problems of today's era. Researches done at that time are not useful to this time. Okay, so the findings may become obsolete with time, and quantitative research method can be expensive in some cases, as we have to do extensive surveys. Our sample is very much greater, and that's why it can become expensive. Now, the difference between qualitative and quantitative method. In qualitative method, we focus on exploring ideas and formulating a theory or hypothesis, while in quantitative method, we focus on testing theories and hypotheses. In qualitative method, we analyze by summarizing, categorizing, and interpreting. But in quantitative method, we analyze through math and statistical method. In qualitative method, we mainly express in words, while in quantitative, we use numbers, graphs, and tables. In qualitative methods, we require few respondents, while in quantitative method, we require many respondents. And in qualitative method, we have open-ended questions, and in quantitative methods, we have closed-ended questions. For example, like if we talk about a question example, then in qualitative method we will have, why did you buy ice cream today? And there can be many responses to that answer. Okay, but when we talk about quantitative method, and this why did you buy ice cream today, this is an open ended question, because it can have many answers, many responses. And in quantitative, we can have the question that, did you buy ice cream today? Yes, no. Like it is a multiple choice question, and it is a closed ended questions. Then when we talk about data, then in qualitative method you can have data that I saw ice cream on sale by the checkout, and it was an impulsive buy and I wanted to treat myself. But when we talk about quantitative methods, so we can have the data or findings like 67% of respondents bought ice cream today. So that's how these both are different. Next, we have is mixed research method. Mixed methods research combines both qualitative and quantitative methods to gain a more comprehensive understanding of a research question. This method typically involves collecting both qualitative and quantitative data and analyzing it using a combination of techniques such as coding qualitative data and conducting statistical analysis on a quantitative data. Mixed methods researches is often used to explore complex phenomena that cannot be adequately captured using a single method. Now, mixed method research combines both qualitative and quantitative methods to gain a more comprehensive understanding of a research question. The data collected can be in the form of words, numbers, or both, and the focus is on using both types of data to explore complex phenomena. Mixed method research often involves the use of multiple data collection methods such as interviews and surveys to gather a more complete picture of the research question. As I said before, that in mixed research method we use both qualitative and quantitative method, and it helps to find the answers of more complex phenomena, and we don't we often use mixed research method when we can't find an adequate answer by using one of the research method, either qualitative or quantitative, so use mixed research method. So its benefits are that one of the primary advantage of mixed method is its ability to combine the strengths of both qualitative and quantitative methods. It can also be used to address research questions that cannot be adequately answered using a single method, as I said before. However, mixed methods research is often criticized for its complexity as it requires expertise in both qualitative and quantitative methods, as well as in the integration of both types of data. Now, what happens that usually researchers that have their uh, that are good in using qualitative research method, they'll use that, and the researchers that are have that are good in using quantitative, they'll use that. So when we talk about mixed research method, we need to have our expertise in both the methods, and that's very difficult. Usually it doesn't happen like that, that a researcher have their expertise in both the methods, so that can be a limitation. So its benefits are that it is a win-win scenario, like we can use both and we can find the conclusions from both of them and we can have a very adequate answer. Then we have a versatility in research. When we find the answers from both different research methods, then our research is very versatile and it have a good, we can say that our findings are good, and it expands the scope of study. Its limitations are that mismatched conclusion. If we study it, if we only do one qualitative method, then we can have different. If we do both, then we can have different, and we have lack of sufficient resources. Mixed research methods are often difficult to conduct, so we can't have that much resources. And again, as I said before, that we need to have our skills on both of the research types in order to conduct mixed research method, and that's also difficult. Now, as I said before, that there are different techniques of psychological research methods. So these are observational studies, surveys and questionnaires, experiment, case studies, correlational studies, and neuroimaging studies. Right now, we're just gonna overview them in one paragraph, but inshallah I'll make video on each of the topic separately. Okay, observational studies. Observational studies involve observing and recording behavior in natural settings or in laboratory settings. There are different types of observation studies, including structured and unstructured observation, naturalistic and participant observation, unobtrusive observation, and disguised observation. Observational studies are useful for studying behavior that may be difficult to manipulate in an experiment or for studying behavior in its natural settings. Then there's surveys and questionnaires. One common type of psychological research method is surveys and questionnaires. These are used to collect data from a large number of participants by asking them to respond to a set of questions about their attitudes, beliefs, or behavior. Surveys and questionnaires are an efficient way to gather data from a large number of people and are often used in public opinion polls, marketing research, and social science research. Experiments are controlled studies designed to test hypotheses and establish cause and effect relationship between variables. In an experiment, researchers manipulate one variable called the independent variable and measures its effects on another variable called the dependent variable. Experiments are often conducted in laboratory settings to control for external variables that could affect the results. Now, the terms used in here may be difficult for the people who are like reading it for the first time or studying psychology for the first time. So, inshallah, I'll make a separate video in each and every topic, and it will be easier for you guys. And I'll explain every term. Then comes case studies. Case studies involve in-depth examination of a single individual or group in order to understand the complexities of their experience and behavior. Case studies are often used in clinical psychology to understand and treat mental health disorders, but can also be used in other areas of psychology to gain a deep understanding of a specific phenomena. Now comes correlational studies. Correlational studies are used to examine the relationship between two or more variables without manipulating them. In a correlational studies, researchers measure two or more variables and examine whether they are related. Correlational studies are useful for identifying relationship between variables but cannot establish causality. Neuroimaging studies. Neuroimaging studies involve the use of brain imaging techniques such as functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) to examine brain structure and function in relation to behavior. Neuroimaging studies are useful for understanding the neural mechanism underlying behavior and mental processes. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.